All right, so Mr. Boivin, we're going to go ahead and start off with an introduction. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
All right. Well, my name is Boivin. I'm a French-Canadian movie director and stop-motion artist sometimes.
Sometimes. Now, I did notice on your channel that you do branch off from the stop motion style a bit. I see that you've done some live action car commercials from time to time.
Well, I did mostly live-action stuff. Basically, stop-motion came to me pretty late in my career, put it that way. I started as a comic book artist when I was 20, and I got the chance to create a TV show pretty young in my young 20s. So for a couple of years, I was doing that, and it was a TV show that basically, imagine Kids in the Hall or Kids in the Hall type of show. So it was a half an hour of sketches. Some of them were movie parodies, some of them were commercial parodies, and a lot of them were just like live action cartoons. And during those years, I got the chance to experiment sometimes with stop motion. So starting there, I knew that I could do it because I knew how to cheat to, create something that looked cool in stop motion, but I was taking other paths. Because I did a lot of special effects during those years and after that as well. And this special effect background helped me a lot with stop motion stuff. And especially when 10 years ago I started to do a lot of stop motion clips for YouTube and mostly online. Again, that special effect background was helping me a lot because I was able to, my recipe was pretty different.
Wow, I had no idea. So a comic book artist. And you mentioned earlier that again you were pretty late on starting stop motion. What was the what made you want to dive more into the animation style?
Yeah. Well, I don't have a style, honestly. I would say that I reproduce stuff that I like. I think, when I did a lot of TV commercials for a few years, and I got tired of it for many reasons. Then, like 10 or 12 years ago, I, found out that on YouTube, motion stuff could be popular. And, the first idea was that, look, I'll do some stop motion stuff with toys. Then I'll contact toy companies and I offer them short stop motion videos with their toys for an amount that will be small for them, big for me. Everybody's happy, and we cut the middleman. That was the idea. So that's why I started. And it's always the same. If you do something and you do it well, then people will keep on asking, for that, and you'll be identified to that, which was the case. So for many, many years, I was identified as a stop motion artist, and I got the chance to do a lot of them, which is a cool thing. I was able to travel around the world doing that, and online, companies were contacting me directly to do stop motion stuff. So I had a lot of fun doing it, but at the end of the day, live action has always been my real goal.
Okay. Well,
so that's probably why. That's why I would say in the last few years I haven't been producing new material for YouTube because I'm concentrating my energy more on live action stuff. But then the live action projects that I have right now, I would say all of them have animation stuff in them. Like there's this one project I'm working on right now. I'm going to be shooting. It's a feature film I'm shooting this summer, and it's the story of that kid who's imagining a lot of things, and some of them are going to be in stop motion. So
Wow.
I'm going to be using that background, that experience that I have for my live action project.
Just another tool in your utility belt for animating and live action. That's very awesome. That's very awesome. I imagine you can't name drop the project due to confidentiality, right?
Well, I mean, I could, but it's not something that would ring a bell. I'm actually working on a project for Netflix, which is pretty cool.
Oh,
And basically, this one came to me because of the stuff I did on YouTube. Because actually, the story is about those aliens who look like action figures. So
wow.
so it's a live action, but with those 6 inches high characters who basically look like action figures. So that's going to be cool. And other projects as well that all of them basically talk. Like there's this other project I'm working on that I'm going to be probably shooting in a few weeks, and it's it's again that's the story of a kid, and he's going to be doing stop motion stuff.
With the
So
imagination. Okay,
yep.
very cool. Very cool. Now you mentioned a lot that you're pretty much like booked on all these projects. When you were starting out, what was the most difficult project you had to do?
You mean in stop motion?
Yeah, sure. In the stop motion, like the project that toy companies paid you to do. The first one you did, was it difficult at all? What was the experience like?
Yeah, well, the first ones were with Lego actually, and they were big because before Lego turned to 3D to do stuff. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, they wanted to feature their toys, and tell stories with them. And I guess that when I came in and I offered them what I knew, I mean, for a while, for a few years, the marriage was pretty good, and so I did a couple of projects with them. And the biggest I did was I reproduced the Cars 2 trailer in Lego, all in stop motion. And that was pretty big, actually, because the sets were huge. There's like an airport in the trailer and a racing track and all that. So, and that one was pretty big, and the time frame was really short. I mean, the deadline was when they asked me to do it, they already knew the deadline they had, and it was pretty short. But of course, I said yes. The money was good. The project was
Mm-hmm.
interesting. But as I was doing it, and as I was spending all my nights and days animating this, I mean, I wasn't sure that I would be able to to finish it on time. It happened. I mean, I was fine, but that was the biggest, the hardest one I had to do. But otherwise, I mean, a lot of projects that I did for myself on YouTube were, I would say, improvised. Like I did a couple of stop motion uh, shorts with 12 inches action figures,
Right,
collectibles.
like the Iron Man versus Bruce Lee one. I remember that one from way back then.
Yeah,
Yeah, I remember
and
that.
usually when I do those, it's I kind of improvise, which is kind of fun actually, because I was able to do so much stop motion stuff in a few years that I got to a point where I could improvise and basically start the animation, not really knowing where it's going,
So
and
no
improvise.
storyboard, no
Nope.
pre-planning, you just go for it?
Yep. No,
Wow, that's some
nothing.
good hindsight. That is some very
So
good hindsight.
that's probably why they all look the same. Because I just I was some you know two characters fighting in one punch, one kick, one, and then okay, well I need to wrap this now. So what's going to be the punchline?
Hmm.
Sometimes I had the idea, I knew where I wanted to go, but I didn't really know how many shots, camera angles, and all. I was just going with the flow, which is kind of cool. I did a TV show like that as well. I mean, I did a couple of stop motion animation in Prague, in Czech Republic,
Oh,
and
wow.
one of them was a TV show that I did with a team, and we managed to create everything in 3 months. And we did like I think 10 episodes of 22 minutes, with characters that were basically fruits and veggies with legs and arms having an adventure. And so
Hmm.
we had a story. We knew what they were, what the story was, but we had so, I mean, we didn't have time at all. So basically, I was just starting my day with, a character doing something. And as the character was doing it, then I was thinking about some other stuff. And so I basically improvised the whole show. I
Wow.
thought it was good.
And it worked out
Uh,
too. Well, what's the show
well,
called, by
it
the
did.
way?
Oh, shit. It's Super, Super Osma 8, Super Osma. I could find it for you. Could find a link somewhere, but it was a show for the Czech Republic TV, um, in Czech. So, and I don't speak Czech, so I forgot the name, but I think it's Super Osma.
Super Ultrama.
Osma,
Ulsma.
yeah, and it's you know 8 veggies. One of them is an apple. He's the captain, recruiting all the other ones to go find something on an island, and the bad guy is garden dwarfs. Those small
That sounds like an
gnomes.
interesting
Yeah, yeah,
concept.
yeah. Yeah. Well, that's pretty funny.
Huh, right
But
on.
that was kids, really, just a simple story for kids.
Wow.
And yeah.
So, how many, when you were starting on the stop motion thing as a side, how long did it take you to master the animation? Like about a year, 2 months, I imagine?
You mean to master the? I mean, as I said, I was a comic book artist when I started as a comic book artist. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, movement and I don't know, this is something that I always had in mind. So when I started animating action figures, when I was, in my young 30s, I knew pretty much what I wanted to achieve as a movement. Then, all I had to do was to find ways to make that character, stand and jump. But, I would say the hardest thing when you start animating, I think, is to understand gravity and to figure out, how an arm will react if
Would move, yeah.
you
That's
let it
exactly what I
go.
was going
How,
for, yeah.
yeah. So that's, but again, because I had this background, it wasn't hard for me to catch it. I guess it's obvious in the first animations that I did for YouTube that I didn't quite understood that, but it came pretty fast. I would say that after 2 or 3 animations, I guess I had it. One of the first big ones that I had to do was for Google, actually, because Google, the first phone they released, uh, was called, I forgot the name of that phone, but I had to do a couple of stop motion things for them, and it was always with those. three ninjas that I created. So one white, one red, one black. And the first clip that I did for them was an unboxing. So basically, they wanted to reproduce, because unboxing were beginning to be the big thing on YouTube. So they asked me to do an unboxing of their phone, and what I did was animating those three ninjas, basically destroying the box and finding out about the phone.
Nexus 1. I found the video.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
So I would say that's the first one that I was really proud of, because that was kind of hard to do, and again the time frame was really short. It's always the same. That's worse than stop motion, because actually when you get hired to do stop motion, you get hired by people usually who don't understand the time it takes to do stuff.
Very long, very tedious, but these guys, they're like, yeah, we'll pay you, but can you have this done in like 2 months or even 3?
Sometimes it's weeks. Yeah,
weeks?
Honestly,
really? That's crazy.
Most of the projects I had to do were in weeks, a few weeks. And especially in the commercial world, when you do TV commercials, because they're used to productions that take a few weeks, like sometimes just a month, from A to Z. Everything is done, and the commercial is online, on air, after a month. So when you say, well, it should take 2 months, they don't get it. And usually it's a deal breaker. So you're like, okay, well, I'll find a way to, I'll manage. And it's always the same. Usually they don't give you enough time to create something.
Dang.
So you have to do compromise, and you have to find solutions. Sometimes it's, how you shoot it, how you frame each shot, to help you. Like basically, if you do shots where you see the character head to toe, well, that's harder than if you do like typical American shots where you
like
see
close-up shots, medium shots.
Yeah. There you go. So that's you manage to save time by framing differently.
Oh wow, that is very weeks though. So this is the ninja unboxing video you made. That is 1minute and 37 seconds. In stop motion, 24 frames per second is typical. So I'm going to go ahead and assume that was about maybe around 1,000 to 300 frames. And you pulled that off in 2 weeks?
No, not 2 weeks. Just one. I mean, yeah, probably, because actually the whole thing was done in a month. So I would say that the stop motion, because there's a lot of VFX in it as well. Like, I mean, I couldn't remember. It's been a while, but I'm pretty sure I had a couple of, wires and arms and stuff that I had to remove in post. So considering all the sound effects, considering everything in a month, I would say that I probably had like 2 weeks to animate everything.
Wow, that is crazy. But you pulled it off though, and it's pretty good though. Yeah, you got paid too. So yeah, right on. So moving on to the live action, which was, from what we understand now, was your original passion. I noticed in your these were 3 years ago though. Well, in the last few video projects, I'm gonna say, I noticed that you involved your son in them. Now, let me see. Your son, what was his, was he like willing to help, or you're like, hey son, you want to help me out with this? And he's like, okay, at a random. How did that go? What was the idea to involve your son in your videos?
Well, I mean, I created, 10 years ago, I created a video called Iron Baby with a friend of mine. We had like 2 months ahead of us, and we decided to work together. He's a 3D artist, and I'm a movie maker. So together we created that with my daughter. So my daughter was like 10 months old, and she's basically, wearing Iron Man suit and fighting bad guys, bad bunnies. And that thing went viral, got pretty popular, and it changed a lot of things for me. And then I had a son. So 2 years later, I had to do something with my boy as well, just, because when you have kids, everything needs to be equal.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that video with my boy, my son, called Dragon Baby, where he's fighting a dragon, teddy bear, teddy dragon. And it started a relationship between the two of us because we did a lot of things together. People asked for videos with my son, so I created a couple of things with him, and he had a lot of fun doing them with me. Then pretty young, he started doing stop motion as well, so he did a lot of stop motion on his own. I helped him a lot, but so he's pretty good already. He's 8 now, and he can do a lot of stuff in stop motion. And so a couple of projects I did, like the last one I think was with stop motion stuff was The Real Deal. That is, right?
Yeah, I see that with your son.
Yeah, he's playing with Transformers, and they fight, and that's basically what he sees as he plays. And it was always fun with him. So because that's one thing I got as a TV commercial director. I had a few gigs that I had to do with kids who were not my kids, and I always hated that because I don't know. Kids didn't seem like they were enjoying themselves. So for me, that's something that I was not going to do with my kids.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to force kids to do stuff. Yeah.
No. But every time I did stuff with them, it was really always just playing with them. Like this Dragon Baby thing I did with my son. I think he was 1 year old. He was barely walking. And it took me, I think, 3 weeks to shoot, because I was shooting, and it's pretty short. I was setting everything, getting everything ready, taking my son outside, and started crying. So okay, wrap it up, and
wow.
So it took me a long time to shoot it. And
he was camera shy, probably. It took him a while to adjust.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And also, this the way I did it, I created a giant costume of a baby costume that a stunt guy was wearing. So every time you see a stunt, it's a stunt guy doing it over a green screen. And I shot my son's head over green screen that I just pasted over the body as well. And that was the hardest thing to do, actually.
I bet, because of all the weird angles and the fact he's moving so much. That must have been pretty hard to mask over. Oh man.
Yep. But again, I know so much about special effects and I'm kind of a one-man band with those small projects. I can do basically everything by my own.
I see that.
Sometimes do music. So basically, it's for me, it's easy to cheat, So I would say that in the stop motion world, I'm like Pluto. I'm not a planet, but I've been considered as a planet, but I'm not. I'm not a stop motion artist. I don't think I can. I've seen so many good ones. I just consider myself an opportunist in that field, but I know a lot, so I can start a project. And like just for example, I just did one where, because I'm older now. I'm 45, so, and it's here in Quebec. I live in Montreal. Winters are really cold, so
Mm-hmm.
my fingers get cold. And I found out that some companies are doing now gloves with batteries. They're heated gloves, but
Oh,
those gloves are pretty expensive. So I decided to contact companies and I offered them an exchange. So I said, send me your gloves and I'll do a quick video, stop motion video with them. And so one of them actually said, yeah, the company is called Volt, and they sent me those gloves, and I did this the stop motion animation where the gloves are running by themselves, plugging themselves with on the batteries and going outside. And so I still managed to do stuff, but again, as an opportunist more than an artist. On it, really, it's not.
right.
Oh,
I'm starting to notice that. Now, all this that you learned, did you ever went to college or a school for it, or did you just learn it like on your own, like through books or the internet?
now, when I was a kid, I hated school, and school hated me. So the moment I was able to stop going to school, I took that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know. I just learned everything by myself, and I learned everything by myself just because when I started doing video stuff in my young 20s, and I found out that that could be a way of life. I mean, I put everything that I had in it. I would say that in my 20s, I was probably working at least 80 hours a week doing whatever but I enjoyed it. I mean, I loved it, but that's probably how I managed to learn everything that I know right now. I mean, I did, like I was talking about that TV show I did in my
Mm-hmm.
20s, and that it was a sketch show. But at the end of the day, I ended up doing around 400 sketches. So that's a lot of hours of, just doing stuff. So that's how I learned.
And you picked up all that knowledge through just work experience?
Yep.
Wow. So,
That's that's the best way to do it, man. That's you just you think of a project and you jump and you do it because the one I would say that the most important things that I learned them doing mistakes. If you
that is
don't
a
do
good point.
mistakes, you don't learn. So,
Right.
and usually at school, they make you avoid those mistakes. I'm not
Yeah.
saying that school is bad. I'm just saying that there's nothing like jumping in and trying it.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that is
And especially
insane.
now because you know it's so easy now to show what you do.
That is
And
true.
we
Thanks to
do.
social media.
Yeah, exactly. And we do that. When yeah, I'm talking like an old dude, and I'm 45. So when I started, I mean, we didn't have that. You had to try to get your stuff in a festival, and those festivals were not. They were not. They had only a few of them that you could probably expect to see your stuff in. Being seen by a few dozens of people, and that's it. But now, I mean, it's easy to reach an audience, which I mean makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm. Man, no, I'm still trying to grasp the. From looking at all your videos, I'm looking at your channel right now. Everything you learned, you didn't go through college. You taught yourself everything, as far as like basically shooting the scene, setting up storyboards and effects. You taught yourself how to do all of that with no like official training or anything.
Yep.
Wow, that is very impressive, and the effort definitely shows. I'm going as far as like I believe the first video I ever saw from you. I think this was back in let's see, I think it was around 2004, 2006. Transformers
Okay.
Jazz with a General Problem. That's the first one I ever saw from you.
Yeah.
A long time ago. I was just on Facebook one day and then, oh, okay, this video looks cool. Click on it. The animation, the camera angles, the opening scene where the camera's just panning to the orange car and then it transforms. That was genius. Pure, like, film photography genius. And the fact that you pulled this all off with just knowledge you gained yourself is even more impressive now. Just the knowledge of knowing you did all this without any like prior training, no college, no nothing, just pure book smarts and like, you know, determination to teach yourself. I'm going to teach myself this kind of style. That's very impressive. So I applaud to that. That is very impressive.
Thanks. Thanks. Well, that one is funny because I thought that one is a big example of mistakes because when I created that video, the idea for me was to try to fool people, you know. So I created that orange transformer. You know, it's a custom one. I created it, and I thought that I could create a buzz online, you know, Transformers fans who would see that transformer and go crazy for it and like, what? What's that? Where is it? Where can I buy it? But it didn't work because I didn't do things correctly before I released the video. I was not careful enough, so it was obvious when I released it that, you know, okay, that's a fake one. But that was the idea behind the whole thing. I wanted to create a buzz.
Huh. Well, it definitely fooled me back then because I was definitely one of those who are like, oh, I want to get that now. But you made that. I could have fooled me, seriously. I don't really have a history of animating with Transformers toys, but I can imagine it's pretty difficult. But you went out of your way to actually make one to see, oh, I'm going to see if I could sell this custom one. And it would have worked on me. But I was pretty young by then, so I didn't have the cash for it. But that is very cool. I had no idea.
Well, I mean, that's, again, the first things I saw in stop motion on YouTube were Transformers stop motion videos that people were doing on their living room floor. Mm-hmm. You know, and they were crappy, but you can see that, you know, people were really into it.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, and they were really popular. So I was like, okay, if I know that I can do better than that, so if I do a few of them, they might go popular, they might go viral, and then again, as I was saying earlier, I mean, my plan was to reach toy companies. So I thought, like, I'll do that, then I'll contact them, and things, you know, it did happen, but a lot of other things happened as well. I mean, I got the chance to do, you know, music videos for artists like Iggy Pop, for example. I did stop motion videos for Iggy Pop and other as well, like a French band as well. And then I got the chance to, oh, that's interesting. The first stop motion video that made a movie that made an impression on me was Wallace and Gromit from Aardman. You know, because I never really was interested in stop motion, honestly. And when I was, I don't know, probably 21, a friend of mine gave me a 3-movie pack of Wallace and Gromit, the 3 first movies they did with those characters. And I was so impressed, really, really impressed. And probably that's the reason why when I was doing my TV show, I tried stop motion because I was really impressed by, you know, the quality of it. And later on, a few years later, like probably 10 or 15 years later, but I mean, I got the chance to do a commercial with Aardman for Nike.
Wow.
That was pretty interesting because the agency contacted me to create that commercial, and they asked me to find a big studio to work with. So I contacted Aardman. So
Huh.
I went there like for 2 months. I was working with them in their studio, and that was the time at that moment they had just finished the pirate movie.
Ah,
So all the
Pirates
props,
Band of Misfits. Okay,
yeah.
that explains a lot. Wow. Okay.
So all the props were there, the giant ship and all that. That was cool being in their studio and seeing how they created all those characters and being there for my project was kind of cool.
Very cool. Very cool indeed. And speaking of Aardman, it's actually funny that you mentioned that. I actually did a editorial video about their filmography just a few days ago. So very kind of a coincidence that you mentioned them. But I was also meaning to ask, did you ever see Aardman's I won't say most recent because they did actually make like two movies last year and back in 2018. But did you ever see Early Man by Aardman Studios?
Nope.
Yeah, I feel like you'd like it. It's one of their most recent ones. I think out of all the stop motion studios I've ever researched on, Aardman Studios in particular has got to be like the only like not only to be not only the fact that they were pretty much starting out first, like earlier than Leica Studios, but the fact that they actually bust out movies faster than Leica. I mean, these guys were making like at least one movie a year, two movies tops. It was crazy. And I think,
Yeah.
yeah, around that time, Pirates Band of Misfits was their starting point for that. After that, it was, I believe, it was Shaun the Sheep the movie, and then it was Early Man, and then just recently, last year, they released another movie, another Shaun the Sheep movie, Farmageddon, and I still got to look at that movie, but it looks interesting. So very funny that you mentioned Aardman.
Well, yeah, they made a big impression on me, and I would say that later on, another artist that had a big effect on me with stop motion stuff was Jan Zwankmeyer, the Czech animator. And if you
Hmm.
don't know that guy, you need to find out about him because that's an artist. That's a genius, really.
I
And
shall look him up.
I'll send you links. And he's basically he created everything under communist regimes, and he was talking about that regime through his work, and he managed to do all of this. And it's what he does is just incredible, and the textures and the sound, and that this is really a part. And I don't know if you've seen the work of what's her name? It's two twin brothers who do stop motion stuff as well, and it's always with skeletons and dolls and
Skeletons. Are you talking about Jason and the Argonauts? That was one of their
no,
works.
no, it's
Ah,
more recent than that, but
more recent.
it'll come back to me. But it's definitely not cartoonish. It's really more oniric, and it's not for kids for sure.
Okay. Very
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah, there have definitely been a lot of shows recently, more geared towards adults nowadays.
yeah.
Let me see. Oh, now you got me thinking. I think I know what you're talking about. The name just escapes me. I'll remember it someday. But okay, very cool, very
Yeah,
cool.
me too.
Now, on the subject of stop motion, granted, you just have knowledge and you know how to do it, but, you're primarily a live action movie maker, so to speak. But
Yeah,
would
yeah.
you say that in this day and age, especially now in 2020, that the animation style of stop motion is like an underestimated style of animation in the entertainment business?
I wouldn't say so because even if you have like CGI technology now that allows you to create amazing stuff and really good looking stuff, uh, you still see, stop motion movies, and they take more time to create. They are really complicated to create, but still you see them because they bring something different. It's not the same. So I would say that uh, no, I'm impressed actually that you can still see stop motion movies.
Yes, that is very true. That is very true. Matter of fact, clever segue incoming, but I recently, I don't know if you follow them, but stopmotionmagazine.com is pretty much the website I use for all my stop motion news, what's going on currently. And just recently, four stop motion films were actually nominated for Academy Awards. One of them being Leica's most recent stop motion film, Missing Link.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's good to to hear that. Again, you're primarily work in live action, but it's nice to hear. Oh, okay, it's appreciative that stop motion is appreciated and it has the potential to be more what's the word I'm going for? Not subline. Prominent, so to say. Like it could rival live action films and CGI films and such. It's one of those
Oh,
big
totally.
contenders. Yeah,
Yep.
but yeah, it is
Totally.
definitely very
I,
tedious. All right, now back into your primary style, live action shooting. What would you say is your favorite part about shooting in live action? Is it a lot easier? Like you don't have to spend hours on end posing a figure 1 inch and then take thousands of pictures later?
well, I mean, it's you know the I'm working with actors. Actually, that's one thing that I really enjoy, and just being able to find the right tone and the right, the, the perfect timing with the actor and the camera, and this is something that sadly I can't find easily in stop motion or in animation in any ways. I mean, of course, when you have like time, a big budget, and then you can kind of reproduce that with animation, but it's not something that is easy to achieve a small scale like the project that I did in stop motion.
Mm,
But with live action, that's and then it's a question of taste. For me, it's nothing will replace an actor. But
that is
as
true.
I was saying a few minutes ago, it's this is something different. I mean, that's the reason why I think we still have stop motion movies, and we will. I'm pretty sure keep on having them for many years. It's just because it's different.
Mm-hmm.
It's because a few of them could have been done in CGI. Like the one that is more obvious to me is Corpse Bride. When that movie was released, when I saw the trailer, I wasn't sure if it was in 3D or in stop motion. But then you see the movie, and no, you get it because it's not perfect, and stop motion will never be perfect because it's people are putting their energy frame by frame, just doing it. It's not something that you can easily redo. You did a shot. If it's good, then okay, it's good, and you move to the other one. As in 3D, I mean, oh, you want to change something? It's easy to change it, just till the end. So it does bring a lot, the 3D. But
Mm-hmm.
one thing that it lacks is the mistakes, the imperfections that bring so much in stop motion. And even with those amazing movies like Buck Troll. Buck Trolls for me it's an
Oh,
amazing stop motion movie, but it is cool and it because the story is good, but you can feel that it's real. There's all those little imperfections that make it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you feel like they're toys you can take in your hand.
Yeah.
And one, the best example of that is Fantastic Mr. Fox. I mean, that's they played with that. They made sure you could feel those mistakes all along the
Yeah.
movie, and it brings a lot.
Like with I think it was the opening scene when the two foxes, their fur was like moving in the wind. I always thought that was unintentional, actually. Like, oh, you could see bits of their hairs moving, and they jolt a bit, and I was like, oh, was that unintentional? But then I looked at the behind the scenes. No, apparently that was intentional. It's just,
Yeah,
yeah, stop motion is not perfect, but it has this very unique vibe and just look to it. What got me into stop motion, funny enough, was just a random video I saw from another YouTuber named Counter656. He animates with Japanese figures. They're called Figma, and the way he went about it was very like he was trying to emulate like the Japanese cartoons or anime to like a T. And seeing that in like toy form, thinking to myself like, holy crap, this guy brought these toys to life. I want to do that. And then I looked into all the stop motion stuff, and then yeah. Oh, here's another example: Robot Chicken. I don't know if you've heard of that
yeah,
series.
of course.
Yeah, Stupid Buddy Productions. They were originally called Stupid Monkey, but they changed they switched one word. Anyway, there was this one scene in one of my favorite side stories I ever did with Robot Chicken. Bitch Pudding, I think the character was named. There's a scene where she's going all Matrix on a wizard squirrel. But then I looked down, like I was just re-watching it one day, and I look at the grass in the scene, and I was, it's shifting. Now, it's little imperfections like that that give it like that, how am I supposed to
Yeah,
say? That very stop motion-esque appearance, that vibe. Like, yeah, it's real, it's stop motion. These are kind of like little hiccups that give it that organic vibe that I can appreciate. It's not too big
yeah,
of a, distraction. Like in some of these more recent stop motions I've been looking into, a bunch of kids animating with their toys. They're using in their phones now because just like in this generation, they have an app for that. So it's kind of like that. Just those little hiccups that you could, I bet the animator's looking at like, okay, it's not too distracting. I appreciate that it's there. I'll just keep it there and let that be a little secret. Like taking a quote from Bob Ross, there are no mistakes, they're just happy accidents. So yeah.
yep.
Oh, that's very awesome. All right, well, it's been about an hour. I'm gonna go ahead and ask like one more question, then we'll close off the podcast. But again,
All
given
right.
that you're in live action primarily,
Yep.
what would you say would be the best advice to anybody starting out in any form of animation? Because clearly stop motion is just another form of animation. It's no different from CGI or cartoon or hand drawn. What would be the biggest advice you could give to an animator just starting out?
Which is, I mean, jump. That's you know because yeah, I mean, I've been surrounded by people who were desiring to do stuff, movies and all. They were for that big idea and that big opportunity or enough money or just take your phone and animate something. Just do it. Just try it, and then you'll see what didn't work. You'll see what you like and try it again. I mean, there's no better way to learn than to try it. So
Mm.
jumping in is the best advice I can give. Because that's and honestly, nobody gave me that advice, but that would have been the best one to give me. Because actually, and especially nowadays where you have all those technologies that allow you to try it, because you might find out that you don't like it, or you
That's
might
true.
find out that it's really for you, and then you push and you do more, but you need to try it.
So you heard it here first, folks. Just go for it. Try it and see if you like it.
Yep.
That's very good sound advice. Well, Mr. Boivin, thank you so much for coming on to the first podcast I've ever done on my channel. I appreciate taking your time to be here. Very appreciated.
Pleasure.
Is there anything you would like for me to link in the channel or the video at all? So some people could see the projects that you're working on. I understand that you're doing like the Netflix one, a movie, some ads.
Well, I'm not doing so many ads these days, but I mean, we could be interesting to link the shorts we talked about. Otherwise, I'll send you the links for what I talked about, like Meyer and forgot the other one, but I'll send you some links as well of interesting stuff.
All right, well, Mr. Boivin, thank you so much for your time. Again, greatly appreciated. A little behind the scenes for the viewers, but I actually kind of missed our first meeting, so this is like the second time. But I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah, me too. Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you, man. You have a good rest of your day now.
All right. Thank you.
Yep, take it easy.
Bye-bye.